Do you need to build a table right now?
Yes.
Do you love sand?
Oh, sand, I love you so much.
Are you a garbage artist and need a robot to do all your work for you? Yep. Did you recently review a CNC laser engraver and a company accidentally sent you two of the same thing?
Yeah, I don't know why they sent me two. What the hell am I gonna do with this thing?
Well, have I got a solution for you. Introducing the new sand plotter table. Not actually a table. As we quickly gloss over breaking down all the materials needed to build this table, let me remind you that I have free plans for this project and all my other projects which you can download on my website, DIYbuilds.ca. Now let's take a look at the stack up of all the pieces needed by popping them into existence one at a time. And that's everything. Well, except for the edge banding around the top. Now that's everything. Oh yeah, it needs legs. Okay, now this time that's everything, except for the drawer handle. And that's all this project requires, except for a laser engraving CNC machine with power supply, magnet with steel ball, dark wood stain, polyurethane, iron-on edge banding, wood glue, sanding pads, pocket screws, and an entire wood shop full of tools on top of that. So this is going to be our top piece, the very top, and this is what we're going to use, these little strips on the underside, this is actually the underside, to build this up to increase the thickness to 1.5 inches. As the thickness of the marble plus the sand plus the hardboard and the glass, there really isn't enough thickness there, so we just had to make it a little bit thicker than a standard piece of 3/4 inch plywood, so why not just double it up? And the way I've come up to do this is to lay out these strips. These are cut to 20.5 inches long and 5 inches wide. And they'll go in this pattern like this all the way around, and that'll leave our exact opening on the inside, which needs to be cut out of this top piece. And to do that, we'll just use a router bit that will follow along this edge and cut that out perfectly. So the first step is to glue and nail these down, and we'll go from there. Okay, next we're going to apply some iron-on edge banding to the front. This is the bottom piece. The two uprights will be along the side here, so no need to do edge banding on the sides. And for the side pieces here, just another strip on the front, as the top is covered by the top of the table and the bottom you'll never see. The next step is going to be drilling all the pocket holes, because the joinery method for this is going to be pocket screws. And I see I've marked on all the bad sides, all my marks. So this is going to be the back piece, which doesn't really matter what it looks like. This is going to be our faux drawer front. So I've kind of chosen this for its grain, and I don't know, it looks pretty good to me. So obviously the back side along the top, we're going to be drilling pocket holes along the sides to connect it. This is the bottom piece that'll connect at the bottom on the underside to the two upright pieces here. And our two upright pieces will have pocket holes along the tops, which will connect to the underside of the top. And then this is just our 3/4 inch piece that goes underneath everything to just kind of seal in the sound that the CNC might make. So let's go ahead and get all these holes drilled at my homemade pocket hole machine. What I like to do when I'm using pocket hole joinery for any of my projects is, when it gets time for assembly, is just preload all of the pocket holes with the screws. It makes it go by so fast. So you see I've got my bottom piece here, and I've got one of my side pieces here. We're just going to stand it up like this, clamp it down, which is very important, because if you're using pocket holes, it wants to move on you. It wants to suck in towards the joint. I'll just make sure we have our edge banding here and here. So this is our front. I'll just line it up with the bottom, clamp it, drive in one screw at a time. We'll flip it over, do the same thing. We'll go on from there. So now obviously your drill is going to be different, but for me and my Ryobi brushless drill here, I set the clutch to 13, and that's perfect for driving in pocket screws. It doesn't blow it out or strip out the threads. It's a perfect snugness. Always use your drill and a clutch. It'll save you such a headache. Now you see I've got these two edges lined up here, and right here it's kind of bowed out. This plywood has a slight bend in it, so that's why I'm doing one screw, one clamp at a time. To support this end from flopping around, I'm going to grab one of these pieces, shove it in there just for a little bit of support. We'll start on this side this time because this is our front face and we want that totally lined up. Next up is our fake drawer front, which will be pretty much flush with the front here. Maybe do a little bit of a reveal if you want that look, but I think I'm gonna go flush with this. I'll just clamp it in place and drive in the side pocket screws. Make sure these ones are pointing up to attach to the top later. Now, if you're wondering why I'm not doing this with it flipped over, it's simply because I don't trust my table to make these edges nice and seamless. So I'd rather do it by eye and feel in this direction. So we've got it face down on the faux drawer front over here. In order to minimize error due to, 3/4 inch plywood not being exactly 3/4 inch and whatever cutting mistakes I might have made, I know, hard to believe, right? I'm gonna go ahead and install this guy, which is kind of like our sound deadening bottom to the whole thing. And I'll attach this piece first to the front down here, then put the back on, and then attach the sides underneath there. This will have to come out again once we go to install the laser CNC without the laser. Okay, everything's attached. I'll just drive in these side screws now. The CNC is going to sit in here. This is what is going to separate the sand from the magnet, and the little marble steel ball will be on top. Now we need to work on the top. I think the next thing we're going to do is put on the real wood edge banding. It's about 1/2 inch thick. It's the same thing I did on my computer desk build. I really like the way that looks with that overhang. So we'll go ahead, get the round over put onto those pieces, miter the corners, and glue them in place. Now I want to get all of these edge pieces glued onto the tabletop. Now these are going to be mitered in the corner, so I'll just mark them here, go over there, cut the 45, bring them back, glue them up, and I'll use the offcut in the corner to make sure that we're totally lined up. And then we'll leave them in the clamps. I'm not going to use any kind of nails or anything. I don't want any of that to show, so it's just going to be strictly the glue and clamps. It's time to cut out this square, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to drill 4 holes in each corner, big enough for a jigsaw blade. Then I'm going to come back and rough cut it with the jigsaw, staying about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, because after that I'm going to use a pattern bit or flush trim bit and follow this edge and perfectly cut out this plywood so that it's 2 layers deep and room enough for all of our sand and the ball and the magnet and all that jazz. So you see what I have here is the tabletop stood up on 2 pieces of wood. That's to make room for all of these operations, the jigsaw blade coming down, the drill bit, all that. And you see I've just got some towels on the side, and that's to protect the tabletop. I don't want it vibrating up and down and just dinging up the top of the table, since, I want to look good after this. Now it's going to be on to mounting the table to the top. Now the reason I haven't gone ahead and added the rabbet to the inside here is I don't have the glass yet. I'm going to get that later today. So we'll do that after this is all mounted. So this is face down right now. This is my front. This is also my front. I'm just going to flip it. And once I do, I need to take out this inner soundproof panel right here, just so I can access these pocket screws and drill them down like this. So now I want to get this piece installed, but before I do that, I'm going to use the leaf blower and just make sure that there's no crap in here. The dust is out of there. I want to install this guy. Hopefully it fits. And to fasten this guy down, I'm just going to use a bunch of these number 6 1/2 inch button head screws so we don't blow through the hardboard here, and it securely holds it down. Alright guys, you might remember this from my last video, the Aufero Laser 2 review I did. Now, they actually sent me 2 of these. I'm not sure why, but This is the second one. The other one I'm going to keep as a laser. This one's going to become the new Zen garden table, which is going to get mounted in here and you'll never see it again. Obviously, I've taken off the laser by now, and what I have here is an old flashlight with a very strong magnet on the end of it. All I've done is crushed it a little bit so it sits a little bit flat against here, and then I'm just going to zip tie it in place. Hopefully that keeps it in place as it's dragged all around in its two axes. Let's go ahead and get this mounted, and then get this mounted inside here. So this is the back of the unit, and that's where I want to position our power and USB cables, because I'm going to cut out a little slot right here perfectly for the two cables. I'll just mark out from the inside where I need to drill some holes. This is finally mounted. Small addendum to my Aufero Laser 2 review. The mounting screws in the feet suck because they're bent inwards, so I had to use that right angle Robertson drive screwdriver thing. That was a pain in the ass, but it's done now. Let's flip it over and make sure the magnet works. Be here? Oh yeah. Okay, you can see I got my piece of glass. It's very nice, fancy, and square. Now over here, I've ripped up some thin strips of red oak, and these are gonna be our edge banding on the inside here. They don't have to be the full depth, because after these are glued in place, we're gonna come back with our rabbiting bit, follow this edge, and that'll give us our recess for the glass to sit inside and flush with the top of the table. Now it's time to mount the four legs. You see I have them kind of set in place here, and I'm going to use this little jig to push them back from the front and side in equal spacing. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead, put this in my vise, and then I'm going to drill randomly 2 holes for a 3/8 inch dowel, and then in those holes I'll put these center finding pins right here in some kind of orientation like this. We'll take this, plop it down, make our 2 marks, drill the hole for the little dowels here, and then everything will get glued in place. And I'm not worried about the glue squeeze out because this is the bottom side. This isn't even getting stained or anything, so no worries. Here's our little steel ball bearing. Magnets in the corner origin point over there. I've got my laptop all set up, ready to try this out. Now, obviously I haven't put the rabbet in here or the glass not set. It's not stained, any of that, but I basically can't wait anymore. I gotta try this out. So let's add this super fine crafting sand I found. Now the bottom panel is off right now, so this is gonna be louder than it normally would be. So yeah, let's give this a try. Okay, after some troubleshooting, I think basically I determined that I had way too much sand on here and that was going way too fast. So far everything seems to be working pretty good. I'll let it run and see if there's any hiccups.
Dad, it's making a wand.
Yeah, a wand. So besides these 2 holes, the one thing I forgot about was you actually have to hold a power button right here on the other side of this. So I've marked out the location. I'm going to drill a hole that's slightly bigger than 3/8, and I'll just use a 3/8 inch dowel to push that button when I want to turn it on. Simple as that. So the rabbet was cut nicely. I think the only place I got a little bit of tear out is right here, which I was worried with the end grain right here tearing out. I was thinking about scoring it beforehand, and it just seemed like a logistical nightmare. I just let the rabbiting bit do it. So that little bit, whatever, that's fine. Casualty of war. Anyways, the last thing to do is to square up these corners so the glass can fit in. I have tried the glass just in these sections and it fits really nice. So we're good there. We'll square up these corners, sand this thing down, get some stain on all the oak parts. We'll leave the drawer front and the legs, their natural maple figure. And then we'll get some poly on this. And there it is, 3 coats of polyurethane fully dried. I've got the laser installed on the underside and I've got this panel right here to keep in the sound. I've shined up the glass with some Windex. Now it's time to throw in the sand, put our little steel ball in place, put the glass on top. This project's complete. So before I show you the table in operation, I just wanted to leave you with this note that there is this website out there called sandify.org, and this is how I'm generating all the G-code for this machine to run. I am using the standard Lightburn software, which runs the laser normally, as to just run the G-code from that software. Now this Sandify website is free and allows you to generate whatever G-code and whatever you design. You see you have your end position, your start position, which is green and red. You can rotate this any direction you want, make it bigger. You can change the shapes. There's tons of different stuff in here. You can even add text. This website is amazing. The fact that this exists allowed me to make this project in the first place. You see up here, we can go to machine. We can even input the size of our machine. So my machine is 390 by 390 millimeters. I've added a 10 millimeter gap kind of around the outside so it doesn't crash into the sides. You can even layer different shapes on top of each other. See, I want to add a star here, and I can move this around and do whatever I want. After all said and done, you just hit export, download, and now if we open the G-code, one thing I need to do is I need to add in the feed speed, so F5000. Now, I feel like that's a pretty good speed to just get this thing to carve out the shape I want in a timely manner. If you want this thing to run really slow in the background, change this to a really slow speed, and it'll just kind of do its thing all day. This website is totally free, and I would highly recommend it. So if you guys are going down this path, check out sandify.org.
Damn, I'm good.